We are tearing into a really provocative text called The Pen and the Algorithm, from
Yes.
sacred scroll to code.
A great read.
And I have to say, it made me look at my own laptop keyboard a little differently.
Yeah.
The central argument here is that we've basically got it all wrong about technology.
How so?
We think we moved from religion to science, from superstition to code. But this text argues that writing code is, in fact, a theological act.
It's a bold premise, isn't it? The argument isn't just that code is like writing, it's that writing has always been a form of technology used to manipulate reality.
Okay, go on.
Whether you're a Sumerian priest in 3000 BCE or a back-end engineer today, you are performing the same kind of ritual. You're taking something invisible, a thought, a rule, a logic, and freezing it into a medium to control the future.
That sounds heavy. So if you're listening to this thinking I'm just debugging a script or even just sending a text message, well, get ready. You are apparently participating in a ritual that is 5,000 years old. Let's unpack the history first. The text calls the original scribes magicians. Now, isn't that a bit of a stretch? I picture a guy counting bushels of wheat, not casting spells.
But is it a stretch, though? I mean, think about the human condition before writing, this pre-literate void. If you had a brilliant thought and a new legal theory, a beautiful poem, where did it live?
In your head. And
Right.
maybe in your children's heads if they paid attention and didn't forget it.
Exactly. And when you died, that library burned down. Knowledge was mortal. It was biological. Writing changed the physics of thought. It allowed for the immortality of an idea. Suddenly, a thought could leave your skull and exist in the physical world on clay or stone, independent of you. That is magic. You're defeating death.
Okay, when you put it that way, I can see why the scribe held such a high status. We see this in Egypt, Sumer, China. They weren't just taking dictation.
Not at all. They were the gatekeepers of immortality. They were sacred figures. In ancient Egypt, the hieroglyph was Medu Neter, the words of the gods. So to write was to channel the divine. And this deep dive points out how this reverence just spans across almost every major tradition. We mentioned the Islamic preserved tablet, but look at the Jewish tradition.
Right, the reverence for the Torah scroll itself. You don't just, toss it in a backpack.
There's immense physical reverence, and specifically the concept of the Tetragrammaton, the name of God. Once that name is written, it cannot be erased. To delete the word is to assault the divine presence itself. The text is treated as if it's alive.
And the material also touches on the Hindu tradition with Sanskrit.
Yes, Shruti, that which is heard. The Vedas are considered these eternal, cosmic sounds. Writing them down isn't inventing them, it's just capturing something that has always existed.
And of course, the Christian opening to the Book of John.
In the beginning was the Word.
The Logos.
Exactly. The organizing principle of the whole universe is language. So the key insight to hold on to here is that writing was never just a tool. It was the way humans participated in creation. You make the invisible visible.
Which brings us to the evolution of the tool itself, because obviously we aren't using reed brushes on papyrus anymore. The text traces this timeline from clay all the way to pixels.
It's a journey of efficiency, right? But the core intent, that stays the same.
Okay.
So you start around, 3200 BCE with clay tablets, and clay is great for permanence. I mean, we still have them.
But they're heavy. You can't carry a library of bricks.
Exactly. So heavy. Then comes papyrus around 3000 BCE. Portable, finally, but fragile. It gets wet. Your history dissolves.
Back on.
Right. Then you hit the big democratizer, paper. Invented in China around 105 CE. That made knowledge cheap. Then the printing press in 1440. Mass production. And finally, digital text in the 1960s. Infinite copies, zero cost.
It's so easy to look at that timeline and just see better tech. But the argument here is that while the tech changed, the sacred act itself remained identical.
That's the critical point. Whether you're chiseling into stone or typing into a Google Doc, you are freezing thought. You're saying, this matters. This should persist. But, and here's where it gets really interesting. The deep dive argues we have just crossed a new threshold.
The shift.
Yes. For 5,000 years, humans did the writing. But now, we have taught our writing to write itself.
This is where we get into AI. And the text makes this bold claim. Code is the new pen. But I have to ask, is that really a fair comparison? A Python script sorting a database feels a lot less sacred than a scroll defining the laws of a kingdom.
It feels more utilitarian, for sure, on the surface. But think about the function. A scribe defined the laws that governed how people interacted. Thou shalt not steal.
Right.
A developer defines the logic that governs how our digital systems interact.
If user clicks X, then display Y.
Exactly. The source draws a direct parallel. Scribes develop systems like Cuneiform to encode reality. Developers use code to do the same thing. There's a comparison table in the notes that lines this up. It says, the scribe is now the developer.
And looking at that, that implies a massive power dynamic. In 2000 BCE, who decided what the law was? The scribe. They knew the secret language no one else could read.
And today, who knows the secret language of the infrastructure we all live in? The developer. The vast majority of us use the interface, but we can't read the source code. The developer is the architect.
Then you have the scroll and the code base, but there's a difference in scale there that feels like it changes the nature of it. A scroll is static. A code base is alive. It's constantly changing.
That's the nuance, right? A scroll was difficult to copy. Manual labor, time. A code base. Zero marginal cost to reproduction. You deploy an update, and it rewrites the law on a billion devices at once. The sacred scroll is now instant and infinite.
Which leads us to bugs. The text calls bugs the modern version of copying errors. Which is kind of funny, but also not.
It has serious teeth. In the ancient world, a scribe slips up, a word changes. That error propagates slowly. Today, a bug is an unintended consequence of creation. We write a rule thinking it will do X, but it interacts with the system and does Y.
And when that system is determining credit scores or jail sentences or medical diagnoses, that bug isn't a glitch. It's a tragedy.
That's the core argument. Sacred texts shape civilizations. Algorithms now shape our reality. The text argues we've automated the divine decree. The algorithm decides who you meet, what news you see, what route you take to work.
It's navigating your life, but hold on. A scribe writing a law? Do not do this? It's static, it's clear. But the AI we're talking about, it's not always so rigid, it's probabilistic. It guesses.
That's a crucial distinction, and the deep dive actually leans into this. Traditional coding, if X, then Y. That was like the legalistic tradition. Rigid law, but machine learning. That's closer to the mystic tradition. We feed it data, the world, and it finds a pattern. We don't always know why it makes a certain prediction.
Which brings us to the fourth section of the deep dive, and honestly, this is the part that stopped me in my tracks. It's about the loss of mystery. It contrasts the oracle with the model.
This is my favorite part of the analysis. It gets philosophical. It asks, what do we lose when we trade ambiguity for accuracy?
Break that down for me. The oracle was the ancient predictive model, right?
Yeah.
You go to Delphi, you ask a question.
Right. But the answer you got was poetic. You will cross a great river. A great empire will fall.
Ambiguous.
Very ambiguous. It required you, the human, to interpret it. You had to look inside yourself to decide what the prophecy meant. It preserved your agency.
Versus the machine learning model today.
The model is the anti-oracle. It doesn't give you a riddle. It gives you a probability. 83.7% chance of default, 92% match for this partner. It's rigid. It mimics the certainty of divine knowledge. It sounds like the voice of God, but it lacks the wisdom.
Wait, isn't that better? I mean, if I'm checking the weather, I don't want a poem about the clouds. I want to know if I need an umbrella.
Certainty is useful for the weather, of course, but for human life. The source argues that by removing the burden of interpretation, the model removes the burden of choice. If the machine says 99% failure rate, you don't take the risk. You don't cross the Great River.
You just don't.
We're letting the probability score collapse our potential futures.
That is actually terrifying. We are encoding a universe where we only take the actions that the data says are safe. We stop taking leaps of faith.
Exactly. We are trading the mystery of fate for the tyranny of the pattern. And this links right back to that Islamic concept we started with, al-Qadar, the divine decree. Everything is written.
But in this case, it's not written by the divine. It's written in server logs.
The Book of Deeds is now a data center in Utah. Every click, every search, every pause on a video, it's all written down. It creates a permanent record more detailed than any ancient biography.
And that brings up the ethical mirror. Because if the algorithm is the new destiny and it's trained on our history, aren't we just ensuring the future looks exactly like the biased past?
That is the risk. Ancient scribes had to curate history. They had to decide what was worth preserving on expensive papyrus. Today, we face the same question, but on a massive scale. If the model learns from our past biases, our mistakes, and encodes them as rules for the future, then we are trapped.
So the programmers, the scribes of today, are essentially writing the theology of the future.
They're defining the rules of the reality we inhabit. Period.
But the deep dive clarifies that it's not just the elite developers. It says, we are all scribes now. Which, again, I look at my Twitter feed and think,
Yeah.
really? Is my complaint about airline food a modern papyrus scroll?
It might not feel profound, but think about the mechanism. Writing used to be for the absolute elite. Now, billions of people write every single day. Your tweet is public. It is, for the most part, permanent, and it impacts others.
We're all participating in this act of freezing thought into reality.
We are. And here's where the source connects it all to AI in a way that brought it full circle for me. It describes LLMs as the ultimate collaboration.
Okay.
Think about how an LLM works. It doesn't know things like a human does. It hasn't lived. It's trained on the vast corpus of humanity's written record. It has read the books, the poems, the articles, the code, and yes, all the complaints about airline food.
So when it writes,
It's collaborating with the dead. It is synthesizing the thoughts of millions of human scribes, past and present. It is the collective human pen.
that is a haunting and beautiful way to put it. It's not a machine thinking. It's a machine echoing all of us.
Exactly. And the source visualizes this as a closing circle. Let's trace it. Step 1. The divine created the pen to write destiny.
Step 2. Humans learned to write, and we used it to write history and law.
Step 3. Humans taught machines to write.
And step 4. Machines now write the future. They make decisions. They shape our beliefs.
The cycle is complete. The sacred act continues.
It really makes you rethink the mundane act of just typing. We think of technology as something that distances us from the ancient world, from the spirituals, but this suggests the opposite, that we're deeper in it than ever.
We are using the same instrument. The pen and the algorithm are tools to make the invisible visible. The difference is just the scale and the speed. But the responsibility.
What about it?
The responsibility is actually greater now.
Why greater? Because of the speed.
It's the feedback loop. An ancient law might take 100 years to reach the edge of an empire. You had time to adjust. An algorithm updates instantly across the globe. The feedback loop between what is written and what happens is now zero.
So what does this mean for you, for the listener, whether you're a developer, a teacher, or just scrolling through your phone?
It means you need to recognize the weight of what you're doing. You aren't just consuming content. You are generating the data that trains the future. You are a scribe. You're participating in a 5,000-year-old act of creation.
So write carefully.
Write with purpose, because everything you write writes the future.
That is a massive takeaway. We aren't just passive observers here. We are active participants in writing the scripture of the digital age.
We are. And that leaves us with the final question the source material poses, which I think is the most important one to walk away with.
Which is?
The sacred act continues. The question is, are we worthy scribes?
That is something I am definitely going to be thinking about for a long time. Are we worthy of the power we've built?
Thank you all for listening to this deep dive into the pen and the algorithm. It's a lot to process.
But that's why we do this. It's about connecting the dots.
We'll see you on the next deep dive. Keep writing.